going to be a bloodborne exposure, then you need to be proactive in your approach on how you're going to perform your job. If that means putting on a mask.
Well, and you know, if you have advance warning of that, certainly there's no question. But so then, are you suggesting that they do wear a mask on every call? I mean, there's say you go into a pneumonia situation or possible respiratory situation. That could be looked at differently than a possible broken hip. You know that.
Well, that's what I mean. I don't know what facility we're talking about here, where these 6 exposures occurred in my last visit. There's been a couple of years since then. I don't know what this facility is. I'm just saying if that's the environment, you have a reasonable expectation.
Sort that out in advance.
Yes. You know, if you have people who are physically diminished picking up the stretcher with a 250-pound man, there's ways to mitigate that by addressing how many personnel are going to be required or the purchasing of a power cot. I have another county that they have an EMS division, and for one reason or another, 9 of those 12 employees are female, and they generated a lot of lower back, hip, and knee injuries. They purchased power cots. That's how they address that issue. So it's like I said, it's recognizing, acknowledging the risks, and then taking steps to mitigate those. And I hate creating policy for everything, but I mean, if that's what you have to do, that's what you have to do. The bottom line is, the department head, in this particular instance, needs to take a look. Why are we generating this many claims? That is an inordinate number of claims. Comparatively speaking, I hate to do this, but you look at other county EMSs, you don't see this pipeline. I don't know for sure exactly what's going on, but there's a breakdown somewhere in that system. It's not working correctly. Too many employees are getting hurt. I'm not big on numbers, but from an actuarial statistical standpoint, frequency breeds severity. And you see this much frequency, you know the big one's just around the corner. That's it. And that's why I'm asking the county to address that issue.
Are you comparing us with counties that have full-time employees on our EMS?
No, because typically you don't see that.
There's a lot of, we have mostly part-time.
Yeah, and that's generally what you're going to find at the county level, is part-time and volunteer type situations. They have 2 or 3 full-time staff, and then the bulk of it's made up of volunteers. I think this other county I was referring to, they had 12 full-time, and then like 18 volunteers, and the 12 would actually, they're broken down into shifts. They have 1 or 2 personnel per shift on duty full time, and rotating.
Back to the mod factor. In normal situations, or what you would consider normal, are we an average at 1, or we're above the average, or where are we?
Compared to other counties?
Yeah.
That's not even possible. There's too much disparity in the county. I mean,
I guess I'm simply asking, is 1 very high, or is 1...
No, if you look at where you were at, and I hate to say this, I called the ball the last time I was here with the numbers that you did. You went from 0.83, which in essence means, in a nutshell, you were getting a 17% discount, to where you were actually above 1, which is on the negative side, and you're calculated at 1 right now. There's been an increase in frequency, and as that frequency increases, statistically, the big ones are on the corner, and it wouldn't take anything. 1 more significant claim, and you guys are going to be in my math here. You'd be pushing the limits and moving into a risk situation.
Which is at what level? 2, 3?
What level as EMF?
As your mod factor. When do you switch it? At what level do you move into a risk?
When you move significantly in a 3-year span, I'm thinking it's 30% increase over a period of 3 years.
That's when you.
That's when you're going to start, you're going to meet one of the criteria for a risk level.
Then we start to lose our discount.
Yeah.
Right.
And-
Well, I thought when you got above 1, you lost it. That's kind of when you.
Well, it gets really complicated because there's other factors that go into what risk level. You have to meet certain numbers of criteria to get into a risk situation. That, moving above 1 in and of itself, no. But other criteria that come into play, yes. So you don't start talking about loss ratios and all that. The issue that I'm talking about is, from my last site visit, 12 more reports than the previous one. And then you have those 2 other ones that are driving it. Now, this is the other one. I make recommendations, and it's not like I'm sitting there trying to justify my position, saying to my employer, I want these people to do this, just to justify. I'm looking at the best interest of this county. That's my objective. I take ownership of this county. 0.83 is a very good lot factor. I'm not going to sit here and tell you the roof's falling in, that you got bad things. That's not what I'm trying to say. I'm going to spell it out for you very plainly. We have a state of apathy and complacency here. You know, I've made recommendations in the past. The board has been very reluctant to act on those. Designated position, you know, we got that passed, but it took a lot of doing to get that passed. The other recommendations, that there's never been any response or actions taken. You know, yesterday I had the privilege of presenting a county with the best practices incentive program. 5 years ago, this county was at a very high, serious risk of losing their work comp coverage. They've made tremendous strides. It's not that they saw the light, they just recognized that we had a problem, and they acted on it. And the benefits are, aside from the fact that they have a very healthy, safe work environment, productivity, efficiency, and morale has changed dramatically. You can see everything from the way the employees dress for work, the cleanliness and orderliness of their shops and their workplaces, their attitude, their morale has dramatically changed. They stepped up to the plate, and we rewarded them by recognizing their behavior. We give them a check for $2,000, beautiful plaques, and media coverage. And this is going to be reflected in their premium. But that's irrelevant when it comes to the money. I'm talking about the safety and well-being of employees. This county is not in a risk situation at this point in time. You're headed that way. The number of claims that are generated. The apathy and the complacency are going to hurt. And I told that to your sheriff. I told that to your EMS person last year, and your superintendent. I don't know what is his title. I don't know.
Like road superintendent.
Road superintendent. Yeah. And they concur. And what I'm asking for, you know, I can sit here and just give you a whole brochure on how to develop a safety culture. All I'm asking is for you to create a safety committee of people who are committed to safety, and then do an incident review. I firmly believe that if you do these 2 basic principles or precepts of safety, that you're going to shine a light that's going to bring the attention of your employees to what's going on here, and that'll be the beginning of really turning the situation around, heading it off before it gets to the point where, like I said, one more serious claim, and that's, you know, it's a, I don't want to say this, I'm trying to say this as a big rock in a small bucket of water. Your premium's not that great, so a claim will have a big ripple effect. That's what it'll do. And you look at the numbers that generated, the type of behavior here, and like the sheriff said, it makes you stop and think, what are they doing? If you see somebody's doing the same thing over and over again, the accountability is no longer on the employee, it's just to the supervisor. The supervisor needs to say, what's going on here? And that's not happening. It's a bump, nick, or a bruise, and they allow that happens. 6 months later, it does it again, and they do it again. And therein is where, that's a warning sign. What's going on here? Why aren't we addressing this? That's the justification for my report. I would really ask that you take a look at this. As far as the recommendations I make, I don't make recommendations